morning, children. Today's morning session is dedicated to all class students, and we are going to talk about simple past and past perfect. Well, simple past and past perfect can be used together when two actions take place in the past simultaneously, one after the other. I repeat, simple past and past perfect can be used together in day to day conversation when two actions took place in the past in one after the other. For example, the patient had died. This is past perfect. The patient had died before the doctor arrived. Before the doctor arrived is the second action that is happening after the patient had died. So which action had taken place first? The patient had died first, therefore it will be in past perfect, and the second action will be in simple past. The patient had died before the doctor arrived. In the similar way, the train had left before I reached the station. So the train had left is past perfect, and before I reached the station is simple past. So past perfect and simple past can be used in day-to-day conversation very frequently. For example, let us say that you are going to analyze some of the developmental aspects of our country, in the last 5 years, or the changes that had occurred due to COVID, pandemic. So you may start discussing with someone. Somebody said, well, a lot of changes have taken place in the last 2 years due to the pandemic. They'll say, before this year, the academic, loss had been negligible, but in these 2 years, the academic loss had been maximum. The students had suffered a lot, after the after the pandemic arrived. So there had been a loss of, loss of academics, a loss of teaching, learning, of the students' studies after the pandemic arrived. In the similar manner, economic had suffered a lot. Economic had suffered a lot since the pandemic arrived, or after the pandemic arrived, the the economy of the nation had suffered a lot. Similarly, people's way of living had completely changed after the pandemic arrived. Similar manner, you can just describe that a lot of efforts had been made ever since the pandemic struck our nation. Lot of efforts had been made. Lot of implementations had been done ever since the pandemic arrived. The the schools had undergone online teaching. The school had adopted online teachings. Colleges had adopted online teaching ever since the pandemic struck our nation. The teachers had adopted new methodology of teaching learning scenario ever since the pandemic struck our nation. Similar action. So when you are discussing any event or events in the reference of the past happening, you can use past perfect and simple past. I repeat once again that past perfect and simple past can be used together when two actions took place in the past, one after the other. The first action will be in past perfect. As I said, the patient had died, that is past perfect, before the doctor arrived. Or even if you can say that the doctor arrived after the patient had died. Both are correct. In both the conditions, you have to take care that the action which had taken place first will be in past perfect. So in conversation also, in day-to-day, description also, in day-to-day talking also, you can use past perfect. For example, if somebody wants to say that before, I worked here, I had worked in Mumbai. So somebody will say that I had worked in Mumbai for 10 years before I started working in Bokaro Steel City. Or somebody will say that I had worked there in Maharashtra for 2 years before I got job in Jharkhand. Somebody will say that that minister had worked as a minister of state before he was eventually elected as union minister. India had undergone a lot of changes before it gained economic boost. The finance minister had taken a lot of steps to boost our economy ever since the pandemic struck our nations. So you in day-to-day conversation also we can use past perfect and simple past together. For example, you have finished some lesson, and after that you have started doing another. You can say that I had finished 10 lessons before I started doing quadratic equation. I had finished 3 lessons in physics before I started doing kinematics. I had revised all the lessons before I appeared in the examination. She had, she had succeeded in, achieving many goals before she eventually took part in the Olympic 2021. So, like that, you can just see that wherever these two actions took place simultaneously in the past, one that has taken place first will be in past perfect, and the other will be in simple past. The structure of past perfect is subject plus had plus V3 plus object plus complement, and the structure of simple past is subject plus V2 plus object plus complement. And that is what I wanted to emphasize upon. Thank you. This is Edising on the channel Easy English by Edising, your own channel.